Okay, everyone. This is going to be a tutorial in Autodesk Fusion on how to draw the object shown. This is beginner CAD exercises part 1. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and minimize this and get started. Okay, since this is the first one, I'm just going to go ahead and do a couple of reminders here. Things to keep in mind whenever you're working in Autodesk Fusion is remember that you can control your visibility over here. You see you have the eyeball icon and then the X, Y, and Z axes and the X, Y, and Z planes. These are always here and you can change visibility here. Sometimes visibility will change when you do different things. Another thing to keep in mind will be the document settings here. Remember that you can change the units between different systems such as millimeters or inches are most often what we're going to do. As I run through these tutorials, I'm going to switch the units sometimes, but for right now I'm just going to stick to millimeters. Remember that when you click that, this will come up. I can set that, hit millimeters, and since I'm not changing it, it's just going to tell me to cancel. Okay, let's get down to it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the image one more time. This is going to be a cube 30 millimeters to a side. So the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we're in the design workspace here in Fusion. And there's a lot of different tools that we can use, but I'm just going to stick to design. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to create a sketch. So I'll click this create sketch button. One thing to notice about all these tools in here is that when you highlight something in Fusion, it'll give you a drop down that'll show you different summaries of the tools, and that's a good place to start. Also, the icons up here will change as you go and you use different tools, but you can always find all of the tools with the drop down here, and then I'll click Create Sketch, which is here. So now, one thing that you want to notice about Fusion 360 is, well, Fusion, excuse me, Autodesk Fusion is let me go ahead and create the sketch button here, is that when you click different commands, a lot of times the viewport or something will change and you'll have to pay attention to what's going on. Here you'll say that it gives you a little tooltip, select plane or planar face. Even though I have these origins hidden here, since this is my first sketch, it's going to give me the planes to use to click on. So it really doesn't matter which plane I'll use. So I'll just go ahead and use the XZ plane here. You'll see the blue line indicating the Z plane, the red one indicating the X. So when I click that, my view will change to a parallel view of it, and then you'll also see my buttons up here have changed as well. Pretty much the same rules apply as before, where the icons will change based on what you use, but you can access the full list in the drop down. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and start by drawing a 30 millimeter by 30 millimeter rectangle. Now in later tutorials, I'll go more in depth on this, but for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and draw a rectangle. So I'll go here and I can highlight the 2-point rectangle up here, but I'll also notice that if you go down here, you'll see 2-point rectangles, 3-point rectangles, and center rectangles. One of the things that can be confusing about Fusion is that there's a lot of different places to start at, but we'll keep it simple. So I'll left click on the 2-point rectangle. And then one thing that you'll notice is that you'll notice how my cursor changes. You'll see that small rectangle to the right of my cursor. The cursor indication is a good way to tell what kind of mode that you're in, but also pressing the escape key on the keyboard will also knock you out of it. So you want to pay attention to the cursor to take care of what you're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the 2-point rectangle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and highlight the origin or center point in here. Now, in a later video, I'll talk about references, but what we want to do is it's a good idea to kind of anchor that to the origin point because that can help when you lay subsequent features. And you'll see this little box here. Again, everything's going to be put off till later. I'm going to talk about references more in detail, but I'll go ahead and highlight this and then I'll left click once. Then once I left click, you'll see how my tooltip changes. And then as I move, it'll show me different things. Now, one of the things that's interesting to notice about when you specify these things is you can actually go ahead and put in the dimensions directly, but I'm just going to go ahead and left click. Now, once I left click, the thing that you want to remember is that you're still technically in the rectangle command. So if I click again, I can draw even more rectangles. It's not until I press the escape key again that gets me out of this. And then what I can do is I can grab these elements and move and drag them around. And again, we'll talk more about constraints at length. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is, since I don't want these to be here, I can left click this and then I can press the delete key to remove it, or I can drag a box to delete them all. One thing to notice about Fusion is that if you drag from left to right, you'll get a blue outline, and if you drag from right to left, you'll get a green. I'll talk about the difference in that in a later video. You'll have to look for those. So now what I'm going to go is I'm going to go ahead and apply a sketch dimension. I'll go to the Create menu and I'll click the drop down. You'll see Sketch Dimension all the way down here, and there's a hotkey for the D key. So I'll click that. And again, you'll see my cursor change. It's gone black with the little football field dimension elements on there. Now, one of the things that's interesting about the Sketch Dimension tool is that they are context sensitive, meaning that the behavior of the tool will change based off of what I click. Meaning that you'll see that this edge is highlighted here, I'll move my cursor over it, and then I'll left click, and then I can pull a dimension from that. And then I'll pull again, I'll left click, and then it will immediately go to the number here, and then towards my image in the beginning, I'll go ahead and make this 330. Now, what's interesting is that I could definitely apply my second dimension by left clicking here, but I'm going to go ahead and press escape to get out of that and then delete the dimension, and then I'll go back to my dimension tool. But also, when I said that they're context sensitive, I can click this edge here, and then I can highlight this edge, and then it'll give me a dimension between those two. I'll left click that, press 30, and then press enter, and then here we go again. Now I'm still in the dimension tool. I'm going to press escape to get out of that. You'll see my cursor turn white again, and now I'm set with this. So now my sketch is fully defined. You'll see that all of the lines are black, indicating that. And then I can go ahead and click the finish sketch button either up here or down here. They both do the same thing. Now, once I click that, you'll see that I now go back to a 3D view, and then you have my sketches indicated here, and then also in the timeline down here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to press the extrude button. So I'll click extrude. And since this is my only sketch, it's going to go ahead and highlight to it immediately. And then when you bring up the extrude tool, it's going to bring up this window. Now this window will give you a bunch of different options on how to move your sketch through space to create a solid object. But really the big thing that I want to do here is distance. Now notice you also have these manipulators here too as well. You can do angles or you can do distance. But again, since this is the first one, we'll keep it simple. I'll highlight this and I will press 30 for 30, then I will press enter, and then I'll press again, and then here we have our full part. And this has been the first tutorial for Autodesk Fusion.